From WSFA 12 News, it's time for the Fever. This is Friday Night Football Fever.
That football fever, cause it's Friday night. Who got that fever? Who got it? You got that fever? You got it? I got that fever. Hey. Friday night. I got that fever, baby. I got that fever, baby. That football fever, cause it's Friday night. Who got that fever? Who got it? We got that fever. We got it. I got that fever. Hey.
And so it begins, our 21st season of Friday Night Football Fever. Glad to have you with us for an epic journey to a place called Fever Country. Let's kick it off in Prattville, where the defending 6A state champs have a new head coach, Chad Anderson, coming over from Wetumpka to lead his alma mater. Lions hosting Carver, and future Auburn quarterback Jeremy Johnson. Carver up 15-7, and let's play some ball. Jeremy Johnson, look at him scramble. The big man picking up the first down. Big play there, the keeper for 60 yards. Later in the drive, he's airing it out and finding Draquan Murphy for the touchdown. 8-0 Wolverines. Prattville answers. Kalen Whitlow hands off to Stanley Mays for a nice gain. They'll do it again, and this time it goes for 7 points. Mays reaching the ball across the line. Jeremy Johnson, 4 touchdown passes tonight. That one, though, picked off by Prattville. The drive would stall for the Lions. Carver at it again, picking up some yardage here on the run. And to cap it off, Johnson will find Randy Capitello for the score. Carver up 22-7. The Lions score again. Whitlow on the quarterback keeper. Carver led 22-14 at the half, and Carver wins 49-24 over Prattville. Historic victory for Billy Gresham's Wolverines, their first over Prattville in 24 years, and we'll hear from Carver coming up on Fever Overtime. At Crampton Bowl, 2 new coaches making their debuts. Tyrone Rogers leading his alma mater, the Lee Generals. Tim Perry, the former Alabama Christian coach, takes over for Chad Anderson at Wetumpka. Generals trailing 7-3 in the second quarter, and Lee moving backwards on this drive. But late in the half, Lee does a great job on the 2-minute drill. The nice pass here and a great catch, great job of concentration. Dalvin White on a slant hangs on. Lee on top, 10-7 at the half with the touchdown catch. But Wetumpka comes from behind to win it, 27-17. The Jeff Davis Volunteers on the road against Dothan. In this game, all Tigers. Jay doing a few jumping jacks to get loosened up. Pick it up in the third quarter. It's already 41-6 Dothan. JD finally gets the ball moving. Alfred Jennings looking for Dante Rice, but it's picked off by Jeremy Lockett, who returns it to the 43-yard line. Dothan would go on to score 3 touchdowns. All 3 called back, but hey, they didn't need any more. Lewis Pimentel with the 47-yard field goal, and it is good. Dothan over JD tonight by 40 points. Big win for the Tigers and Coach White, 46-6. The Auburn Tigers could be one of the state's most talented teams with Reuben Foster on defense and offense. Punt return here for Auburn. They're at Valley tonight, and Blaze Taylor, the son of Auburn assistant coach Trooper Taylor, takes this one back 54 yards all the way down to the 1-yard line. We talked about Reuben Foster. Moved over from Georgia, one of the top recruits in the country. You put him at fullback, give him the ball, and who's going to stop that big load? They were flagged for celebration. Starting quarterback Cameron Eccles-Looper, injured in the first half of this game, did not return. Auburn gets the win 39-10. Now let's go to Montgomery Academy, taking on the St. James Trojans. Bragging rights on the line in the capital city. Jimmy Perry, the new coach at STJ, and he brought along some big-name friends. Former Lee and Opelika coach Spence McCracken, and former Lee and Carver head man Larry Ware, assisting Coach Perry. Trojans with the ball here in the second half. They led at the half, and they add to their lead in the second half on that blue moon. It's Frank Moody, and Moody had a big night. He's already in before the ball got loose. Frank Moody with the big night, C.J. Duncan with the big night, and St. James ushering in the Perry era in style, 45-14. Trojans over the Eagles of Montgomery Academy. Another capital city clash at St. Jude.
I got the fever!
Actually, this game at Catholic High School, St. Jude visiting Catholic. The Pirates playing the Knights. Pirates led 20-7, but the Knights go the length of the field to start the third quarter. Look at the little guy, 5'2", Patrick Freeman, into the end zone to cut the lead to 6. Now we're tied. This video of the game-winning field goal furnished by our GM Colin Gaston from the Shermanator. James Sherman through the uprights, and Catholic comes from behind to knock off St. Jude tonight, 23-20. When we come back, an emotional night for the Carroll Eagles plus AISA fever. Stick around. You're watching Friday Night Football Fever.
Plus, get all the rebates and incentives like a new 2012 Fusion for only $19,599, or lease it for only $178 per month. How about a new 2012 Edge for $24,995, or lease it for only $299 per month? With financing available for most credit situations and top dollar for your trade, now's the best time to buy or lease a new Ford. So stop by and experience our summer of savings and see why you always get more at Gilmore.
Friday night, you play lights out, but you feel the pain. With sports medicine at Jackson Hospital, we team up with the pros from Alabama Orthopedic Specialists and Rehab Associates and make every bump, bruise, and strain feel better. So you're back in play next Friday night, except even better. Sports medicine at Jackson Hospital.
Fever gear provided by PS Graphics.
And welcome back to Friday Night Football Fever. Time to see what's happening in the Steyergrass. Derek Steyer covering the Battle of Crenshaw County and one of the state's top-ranked teams, and you'll find it all only in the Steyergrass, Derek.
That's right, Jeff. A great way to kick off the season in the Steyergrass with 5th-ranked Brantley, the Bulldogs, number 5 in Class 1A, hosting arch-rival Luverne. This game, always great to see it in the first game of the season to see what both teams exactly are made of. Let's go right to the highlights. We're going to first start off, though, with Elba and Opp over at Opp. You see head coach Scott Riles of Elba. They won the state championship last year, looking to try to get back there again. That one, Kobe Gooseby, a TFL for Elba. Reed Riles to Shannon James, 20-yard touchdown. Elba on top first, 6-0. But here comes Opp. Justin Adkins on the sweep. He'll go 28 yards for the touchdown, and Opp goes on to win 21-20. Big win for the Bobcats over number 1 ranked Elba. Back here at Brantley, it's the Dr. Pepper Tuition Challenge, and that was Edwina Johnson from Luverne winning a little football toss there at halftime. She won a $500 scholarship thanks to Pepsi Cola of Luverne. To the game now, Braxton Barnes on the nice return and the hit over the Luverne defender. Barnes then breaks up the catch there. Big night defensively for Brantley. Andrew Parker breaking free from several tackles into the end zone. 19-yard touchdown run for Brantley. They love the fever here in Brantley. Zeth Johnson going to go 2 yards in for the score for Brantley as they go on to win 36-6. I caught up with Brantley head coach David Lowry after the game.
Thought we had a pretty good night. A lot of mistakes in week 1. We certainly made our share. We had some penalties and turnovers, but hopefully we'll get better as the year goes on, but that's a good way to start the season.
Well, there's nothing like going out your senior year beating your best rival, so it's a great night.
So Brantley starts off the season 1-0. Jeff, they held Luverne to only 1 first down in the second half. That Brantley defense was just outstanding. And I talked to Luverne coach Les Sanders after the game. He said he knew coming in that it was going to be a tall challenge. He thinks Brantley is one of the best teams around, that a lot of teams in Class 1A are going to have a hard time playing with the Bulldogs this year, so giving them high praise. He found out the hard way tonight that Brantley is a really good team as they go down 36-6.
And Derek, Mike, Elba lost a lot of firepower off that last year's team. Do they look like a team that can go back to the Super 6 this year, or are they in a rebuilding mode?
No, I thought they looked very good. They have Scott Riles' son, Ryan Riles, now is the quarterback, and so I think a lot of the offensive load is going to be on him. But Darian Burks, you remember him as a super sophomore last year. No Michael Lindsay, he's at Troy now, but Burks can carry the load running the ball, and so I think Elba was going to be fine. They've got some big kids up on the line, but what a great win for Opp, to cover home turf and get the win 21-20. I think Elba's going to be just fine, but they're in a tough region. They're going to have to play, the teams like Luverne here later on in this season, and so, it could be a great learning moment for Elba, and I think Coach Riles will have them ready to go for the rest of the season.
Okay, thanks, Derek Steyer. We'll check back in with you in Fever Overtime on Bounce TV, WSFA 12.2, and WSFA.com about 10 minutes from now, and a big victory tonight for the Bobcats, as Derek mentioned. It's been a trying time for the Carroll Eagles. Their coach, Stacy Waters, died 3 months ago in a car accident in Orlando. Ken Valerie, the interim head coach at Carroll. Moment of silence observed there with the Eagles opening on the road against Ashford. Second quarter, Carroll going for it on 4th and 2. Austin Holt hands off to Antonio Stubbs. Powering through for the first down. Later on the drive, it's Stubbs again with a big hole. Great blocking. He'll take it in and put the Eagles on the board first. And Carroll, a winner tonight over Ashford. 40-12 is the final score. It's a Panther fight in Butler County. The Georgiana Panthers looking for their first win against the Ayrton Purple Cats, and Ayrton with the ball first. They want to get the season off right, and they do in a big way. Ayrton's quarterback with the touchdown pass in the end zone for the TD. Georgiana has the answer. First pass of the season, and it picks up a big gain, driving the defenders for some extra yardage. Georgiana marching, and it's another first down with some nice yards after the catch. Georgiana would go on with the touchdown to tie, but Ayrton gets the win tonight, 40-27, big victory for them. Stanhope Elmore versus Marbury tonight, and it is all Mustangs. Marbury with a late push, trying to make something happen. Their quarterback Hunter Brown with a nice gain, but the ball is on the ground, and the Mustangs recover there. Coach Jeff Foshie's crew finding some more points. Coach Foshie has been at Stanhope Elmore a long time, taking over for his father. And a nice run by Bishop. Frazier sets up the field goal, and the Mustangs get the win tonight, 53-7, all Stanhope Elmore. Looks like the Stangs are in great shape again this season. AISA action in Montgomery. It's Evangel Christian hosting the Gators from Glenwood. Evangel down early, but looking to come back. Whitlow to Zach Bruce for the nice gain, but the drive stalls here on third down. Alric Perry gets in the backfield and blows up that play. Now watch what happens here. The Lions had to punt, and that's where the trouble begins. A great return by Tanner Knowles. Look at this guy. Loses his helmet, and Tanner just keeps on going. Inside the 10-yard line on the next play, Luke Doherty scores. That made it 19-0 Glenwood. Glenwood beat Tuscaloosa Academy last week, and they roll tonight over ECA. You see the final score, 52-8.
Number 10, Keith Johnson on carry.
Macon East, the Mighty Knights, they scored more than 60 a week ago. And look at our friend Judd Davis coaching the receivers, coaching them up, so you know that we can expect some big plays in the passing game. Devin King pushes his way in the end zone, 6-0 there, Ashford. Macon East quarterback Peyton William will run 32 yards for the score with that future feeder cheerleader, and this will put the Knights on top, 7-6. Ashford will answer with a touchdown of their own. Alex Morris with behind a huge pulling guard there with a big hole. And we'll see if we have the final from this one. If we don't, we'll call it in and we'll get it to you on Fever Overtime. Maybe Judd can text it to us. Macon East taking on their opponent there tonight out in East Montgomery. It's the official stadium of Friday Night Football Fever. Of course, you know it, Hot O'Brien and Tallassee Tigers taking on the Golden Eagles of Booker T. Washington, and the Tallassee Tigers strike first. Brandon Baines with the touchdown run. BTW will take the ensuing kickback for a solid return. Kevin Keith going to take it 45 yards for BTW, showing off some nice speed and nice cuts, but all the highlights tonight, most of them anyway, belong to Tallassee. The Tigers get the victory 59-18 over BTW. In Elmore County, the Panthers retiring the jersey of former Auburn Tiger great Ben Grubbs. There's Big Ben, played for Elmore County, played for Auburn, played many years for the Baltimore Ravens. Now he's on the New Orleans Saints roster. Elmore County hosting Alabama Christian. Second quarter, ACA's Jonathan Hall. And gets the sack there. Quarterback Austin Adams will set up a 3rd down and long. Nicholas Williams is going to get that and more. Little bubble screen. 50 yards for the touchdown. Makes it 20-7 at the half. And Elmore County with the big win tonight over ACA, 35-7. And we'll hear from Ben Grubbs coming up on Fever Overtime just a few minutes from now. There's more Fever where this came from. Fever OT coming up next on WSFA.com and WSFA 12.2 Bounce TV with more highlights, post-game interviews. We'll go back down to Derek Steyer in the Steyergrass and analysis from Graham Dunn of River Region Sports. Thanks for watching Friday Night Football Fever. I'm Jeff Shear. Good night, everybody. And welcome into our first edition of Fever Overtime for the 2012 season. We're joined by Graham Dunn from River Region Sports in just a second. But first, let's go to Derek Steyer down in the Steyergrass where he covered 2 big ball games tonight. Derek?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeff. Brantley taking on Luverne. Big rivalry here in the Battle of Crenshaw County, and also #1 Elba traveling to Opp. Some fantastic games. Let's get right to the highlights. We'll start at that Elba Opp game. Good defense for Elba. Kobe Gooseby, the TFL, tackle for loss. Forced a punt. And Reed Riles will hit Shannon James for a 20-yard touchdown as Elba goes on top 6-0 after a missed extra point. Justin Atkins for Opp, going to go around left end, and he'll go 28 yards in for the touchdown. The Bobcats would take a 7-6 lead, and they go on to win 21-20. Elba actually scored with a minute to go, but decided to go for 2, failed, and Opp won it 21-20. Back here at Brantley, the Dr. Pepper Tuition Challenge, a little challenge there, trying to throw footballs into the hoop there, or the hole there, and Edwina Johnson from Luverne is going to pick up the win. She earned a $500 scholarship for her choice of college next year. Braxton Barnes for Brantley with a nice return and hit. Barnes going to break up the pass play on defense as well. Brantley playing extremely well. Well, and you just saw Andrew Parker with the 19-yard touchdown run for Brantley. Then Zeth Johnson, a 2-yard touchdown run. Brantley pulls away from Luverne in this one as they go on to win by a final of 36-6. We caught up with head coach David Lowry afterwards.
Yeah, we certainly got to do a better job of penalties. We had a lot of offsides on defense. That's just not real smart football. And we had a lot of opportunities in the red zone where we just didn't cash in. So those are things we got to work on. Defensively, you held Luverne to 1 first down in the second half. Talk about that side of the ball. Well, I expect that out of our defense. We had a good defense coming back, and I thought they'd play well tonight, and they did. It's only one game of the season, but do you get a sense yet of how much talent, how good this team can be? Well, I think they can be as good as they want to be. We just got to work, and we got a lot to do to get better, but hopefully I think this bunch will work. We got a good group of seniors. There's 15 of them, and so we're counting on them to lead the way. What did you guys do well? What do you need to work on?
Yeah, I thought defense did pretty good. The offense, we got to get better at running the ball. But we're gonna be successful this year, so we just got to keep working. It's only one game, 1 week of the season. Do you get a sense of how much talent, how good you guys can be? You know, we've got great potential. We just got to keep working harder and harder every day.
Brantley defense holds Luverne to just 1 first down in that second half, so an outstanding game for Brantley. They a little bit of a hiccup in the third quarter offensively, got a little bit ugly, but boy, give credit to Brantley being able to win a game like this, 36-6, and not play your best game. You know, at 6 o'clock, Jeff, I said that some people felt like maybe this was the best Brantley team ever. I'm not going to rush to judgment and say that just yet, but they're pretty darn good. They are so big along the offensive and defensive lines. They got good players at the skill positions. This is going to be a very good team in Class 1A this year.
Okay, Derek Steyer, we'll look forward to hearing from you all year long down in the Steyergrass. Brantley 3 years removed from a state championship. Now, let's take you to Prattville, where the Carver Wolverines trying to defeat the Prattville Lions for the first time in a generation. And that's the new coach at Carver, Chad Anderson, and that's Jeremy Johnson, future Auburn quarterback. Huge crowd at Stanley Jensen. And look at Jeremy, so dangerous in the pocket. Watch him keep this play alive. Who does that remind you of? When the play breaks down and making something happen. Maybe a former Auburn quarterback, I don't know. This time, he's going deep, got his man, and Jeremy Johnson threw 4 touchdowns tonight, but Prattville always has some firepower, and that is Stanley Mays, who gets in the end zone there. And this time, Jeremy coming right at us, but Prattville's defender makes the nice interception. The drive would stall, Carver picking up some yardage here, and then Johnson will find Randy Capitello for the score. That puts Carver up 22-7. You see the final 49-24. The Lions score again. Here's Whitlow on the quarterback keeper. It was 22-14 at the half. Historic win for Billy Gresham's Wolverines. Their first over Prattville in 24 years. Their first regular season victory over the Lions since the 70s. Let's hear from Carver coach Billy Gresham.
Yeah, it was a lot of big plays. They came out as a senior group. They played like we thought they should play. Made some big plays. I think the quarterback, made some big plays. Running backs ran the ball. The offensive line blocked. So it was a great effort by the whole offense.
And joining us now is Graham Dunn from River Region Sports. So is it an upset? Historically, it is when Carver beats Prattville, but they've got Jeremy Johnson. Prattville lost 30 guys from last year's team to college football. What do you think?
We had a debate about that today. Prattville not ranked, which we can get into that later, but the fact that Carver goes into a game they hadn't won, as you said, since the 70s in the regular season, yeah, I would call it an upset. I think I would. But it doesn't surprise me that they won.
And what does this game say about Carver and where that program is and where Jeremy Johnson is?
Well, they felt like they were going to have a pretty good team last year. And maybe with the new coaching staff, new head coach in Gresham, maybe expectations a little bit too high. This year, you got a senior quarterback in Johnson. You got a lot of seniors all over the field. And I think you saw it tonight. On the same token, Prattville, very young, sophomore quarterback, a lot of the anti what Carver is having to work with this year. So Chad Anderson knew he was going to have a young team leaving Wetumpka and going to Prattville. So I'm still not convinced, though, that Prattville's going to have a top of year. I think they might have played maybe the best team on their schedule tonight.
So if you're a Prattville fan, you don't need to put your finger on the panic button.
I don't think so. Yeah. Of course, we don't know. New region with Spain Park, Chelsea, and those teams up in the northern part, Shelby County. At the same time, Carver, they've got some tough games, maybe tougher with an Auburn and an Opelika and Central Phoenix City. So you would think, hey, Prattville's not in the region anymore, but as it turns out, it may be even tougher because of the team that Auburn has this year.
One thing's for sure, Carver's Jeremy Johnson is going to be a fun guy to keep an eye on this season. Now let's talk about the game where you handled the public address duties out at Crampton Bowl. It was the Wetumpka Indians and the Robert E. Lee Generals and 2 new coaches. That's Tyrone Rogers, former NFL player, former Alabama State Hornet, making his head coaching debut, and Tim Perry. You might remember him from his days coaching the Alabama Christian Eagles. Wetumpka led 7-3 in the second quarter, and Lee was going backwards. But in the final minute or 2 of the first half, watch this hit. Great catch, great job of holding on despite taking a big lick there. And with 4 seconds left on the clock, Lee gets the touchdown catch, and Lee took the lead 10-7 at the half. But Graham, back and forth, Wetumpka goes back in front in the second half and ends up getting the win for Coach Perry, 27-17.
Yeah, they got an by the way touchdown late in this game. It was 21-17 in the last minute. Wetumpka wins it on a muffed snap on a punt by Lee. And that's the kind of night, this is about 5 or 6 years we've been saying this about the Lee Generals. But Tyrone Rogers, I saw some good things out of Lee tonight, saw some good things out of Wetumpka as well. These 2 teams are going to struggle some, at least early on in the season. But it was a great game, as you mentioned, back and forth. Both of these teams played very hard. You know, Lee had struggles last year scoring points, really in the last several years. So it was good for them to get on the board. They had I believe it was a kickoff return or a return for a touchdown tonight. So they found some ways to get the ball in the end zone. Wetumpka the same way. Tim Perry told us that he was a little concerned about his quarterbacks, not a lot of experience, and of course a brand new offense that he's brought in. Good for them to get off the snide, so to speak, and get ready to start region play, which begins next week.
And a decent crowd. We estimated it to be about 2,500, so not bad for a season opening game.
No, not at all. Of course, a beautiful night, and we had a chance to watch the full moon come up on the east side of the stands. But, you know, both of these teams, certainly Wetumpka losing their coach, you kind of wonder how much support is Tim Perry and this group going to get, and also they lost a lot of players, but a lot of folks from Wetumpka came down to Montgomery tonight. And
Purvis Martin made the great catch, held on. Anthony Hooks, the quarterback, and Dalvin White had that first half touchdown for the Lee Generals. Moving on down to Dothan, Alabama, where the Tigers were hosting Jeff Davis, and Coach Vincent Wiggins did a great job in his first season a year ago with JD. But tonight it was all Dothan. Look at that score, 46-6. It was 41-6 when we got there. JD had trying to get the ball moving, but Jeremy Lockett picks it off. He's just one of the great defensive backs for Dothan. They also have a future Auburn Tiger in Cameron Melton. Dothan would go on for 3 touchdowns in the second half. They were all called back, but they were up by so many at that time it didn't matter. Lewis Pimentel with the 47-yard field goal, and that makes your final score Dothan 46, Jeff Davis 6. What do we know about Jeff Davis at this point?
I know they're big. Coach Wiggins telling me during the preseason they're averaging about 315 across the front line. But Kelvis White at Dothan, he feels like this is his best team that he's had. Saw him in the 7-on-7 tournament at Faulkner during the summer. They got a real strong passing game, and obviously they know how to score points.
Okay, that's JD, and we'll keep an eye on JD and Dothan throughout the year. Now let's talk about the Auburn Tigers. They could be one of the state's most talented teams. Reuben Foster moving over from Georgia, committed to the Auburn Tigers now. And Blaze Taylor, he's the son of Auburn assistant coach Trooper Taylor. And Blaze on the punt return, and he is blazing all right. 54 yards all the way down to the 1. So you need 1 yard in short yardage. Who are you going to give it to? How about the biggest guy on your team? Reuben Foster playing offense, just mowing guys over for the touchdown. Auburn was flagged for excessive celebration. Starting quarterback Cameron Eccles-Looper injured in the first half of this game and did not return. Hopefully that's nothing serious, but Auburn gets the win over Valley tonight, 39-10. I know that's a little bit outside the river region, but that's a talented team at Auburn.
Oh, no doubt. Of course, they're in the river region now because they're in the same region with all our teams here in Montgomery. So looking forward to seeing Foster play. He'll be here next Thursday. They'll take on Jeff Davis.
Okay, so Auburn University Tiger fans, your chance to see one of the guys who could be a staple on the Auburn defense in years to come. Now let's talk about a bragging rights battle in Montgomery. Montgomery Academy in St. James. We talked about the new Coach Perry at Wetumpka. There's the new Coach Perry at St. James. Longtime Lee coach Jimmy Perry, and there's the Hall of Famer Spence McCracken, a volunteer coach working with the offensive line, and Larry Ware. We call it the Dream Team, former Mr. Football. And there's that full moon Graham was talking about. St. James on the ground, just having lots of success tonight. Frank Moody with a touchdown there. STJ rolled out to a big first half lead. Montgomery Academy did get a score on a Josh Thomas running play, but Moody, there was no answer for him tonight. The Eagles spent a lot of time chasing him to the end zone, and St. James, the win tonight, 45-14. Let's hear from STJ coach Jimmy Perry.
I don't know. We got to see what Ashford's doing, and well, I'm sure this film will show a lot of errors, and we'll work on it. And but it's a great group to work with.
Excited?
Having a ball, man. Good to be home. Good to be back in Montgomery, Alabama, and at St. James. Great place. Here we go, guys.
They're having fun over at St. James, and what early thoughts on Coach Perry, what he's done, and what's going to happen this year for STJ?
Well, I don't know how much we can take from the win tonight. I think they were better than Montgomery Academy going in, but you mentioned the dream team. I mean, you got Spence McCracken, you've got Larry Ware. Those are two playoff winning, state championship winning coaches right there on top of what Jimmy Perry can do. It's hard to guess because you don't know what their talent is going to do for them, but I guarantee you in a couple of years, St. James is going to be one of the better teams in the state in Class 4A. So I'm looking forward to watch that program progress under those coaches. At the same time, Montgomery Academy, Anthony McCall, they moved down a classification this year, and they're excited about that. They feel like that's going to help them. May not show it tonight, but Anthony McCall feels like he's got some talent to work with. Of course, Josh Thomas, the quarterback. They're going to be good enough, and I believe they can make the playoffs this year.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on MA and Coach McCall as the season progresses. Now, another bragging rights battle at Catholic High School. St. Jude.
Catch the fever.
And everybody had the fever. Everywhere I went, everybody wanted to tell me they had the fever. and we like to see that, having a big time. And Catholic was behind 20-7, but at the start of the third quarter, they just marched, running to the right side of the field. And look at Mr. Freeman there. He's 5'2", 150 pounds, and he's getting the tough yards. And this is your game winner. They were tied at 20 on the cell phone. Colin Gaston showing off the serious leg from the Shermanator, James Sherman, and that was the game-winning field goal, 23-20. And Catholic gets the win tonight over St. Jude, and a big victory it is. And that's a weapon they have. Sherman, the kicker, in a close game. He's the difference.
He might be the best kicker in the state. We had Papanastis last year. We've got this guy this year. I mean, this is amazing. And this young man has been to all the kicking schools. I've heard a lot of things about him. He didn't even play football a few years ago, so he's brand new to the game, but obviously a very good kicker. That's an upset. I'll just go ahead. I know that's 1A, 3A, but St. Jude expects to contend for the state championship this year. They got a lot of talent over there, and for Catholic to come back and win, that's a huge win for the Knights and Coach Schatzer. You
got to credit Coach Schatzer. They were down 20-7, did not panic. That drive was very impressive to start the second half, and then again we mentioned Sherman as a junior. He's ranked by some as the #1 kicker in the country in the class of 2014. So you're right. There are a lot of outstanding kickers in the River region with Papanastis gone and the Shermanator on board. Now let's take you up to Elmore County and Ben Grubbs, one of Fever Country's finest. Great offensive lineman at Auburn. He's been in the NFL for many, many years now, first with the Baltimore Ravens and now with the New Orleans Saints, and his jersey retired tonight. We'll hear from Ben Grubbs in just a minute. Elmore County gets the big win tonight over Alabama Christian. He had the Fever, 35-7 the final score, and let's hear from Big Ben about having that jersey retired.
Experience.
Yeah, man. You know, it's a good feeling, man. My hometown recognizing me. It's always good to come back and feel the love, and they always welcome me with open arms.
It's something where you take a lot of pride from being here from Eclectic. You take a lot of pride from one time being an Elmore County Panther. You come back here and put on football camps and whatnot. Yeah, you're still a big part of the community.
Definitely, no doubt, man. This is where it started for me, and that's one thing that I always try to tell the kids here. You know, it started for me right in the same seats that they're sitting in today. And, you know, it's nothing that I have special, man. It just takes talent. It takes hard work, determination, all the things that they already have. You know, I'm just trying to reiterate that, so maybe they'll bring it out of them.
Congratulations to Ben Grubbs. Neat to see guys like that, hometown River Region guys who have success in high school, go on to college, go on to the highest level, the NFL, and then come back. And what a role model guys like Ben are.
And what's so interesting is you think, oh, they're crowding around him wanting the autograph. Nah, he's just Ben. Yeah. You know, he's just home. He'll be back in New Orleans in a couple of days. But no, great thing for them to retire his number. And Ben Grubbs, I tell you, he was, I don't know if I would call him one of the biggest recruits coming out of when he came out of high school, but obviously he did something right and had a great career at Auburn and now doing the same thing in the NFL.
I remember one thing that really launched him as a high school student was at the Crampton Bowl one day, the Capital City Combine, and he blew it up with the measurables, with his leaping ability, his shuttle time and all that, and from that day, that really raised his star level, and ever since then it's been a steady road up for Ben Grubbs. Congratulations, Ben. Taughaville on the road to Lynette tonight, second quarter, and we're going to watch Jamarius Barrow from 10 yards out, running it in to make it 27-0 Lynette. And look at that final score, 60-0. Later in the second, it's Barrow again. With the interception, makes it 33-0, and Lynette blows out a Taughaville tough opener for the Eagles. Zigging and zagging across the field, 60-0 in favor of Lynette. A final thought from Graham Dunn, and what do we have on your website, River Region Sports?
Well, we'll be reviewing a lot of these games, and of course some games in AISA. Edgewood wins again. What a surprise. A lot of big things going on. Of course, our football preview guide came out this week. We'll tell you how you can get a hold of that. Might even sneak a couple over here to Channel 12 and let you hand those out for you.
Yeah, be glad to do that. And we also make our picks. Graham gets us to make our selections each week for college and high school games, so check that out on River Region Sports. Also, WSFA.com. We have a link to your website. Look ahead quickly to next week. You mentioned Reuben Foster and Auburn High School coming to town. Any other games that stand out next week?
Well, when we start region play next week, it's going to be interesting to see how Carver comes off their big win over Prattville. Hopefully they don't get too overconfident and they go back in to region play. You've got Lanier, which lost last night, lost a close game, had the game won. I mean, they were inside the 5 going in fumble the ball, fumble the win away. They're at home against one of the new teams, Smith Station. They'll be at Crampton Bowl next Friday, and of course everybody else starting region play, including Prattville and Spain Park. I know they don't like losing tonight.
Sure.
They can't afford to lose next week because that is indeed start of region play.
And we'll have it for you all next week on Friday Night Football Fever and here on the Fever Overtime. For Derek Steyer, for Graham Dunn, for our entire team at WSFA 12 News, I'm Jeff Shear. Thanks for watching the OT. We'll see you next week.